cleaned up. We're about to go back to sleep, and then he just projectile vomited. I'm just like, fuck.
old,
uh, yeah,
how old are you?
well, 4 years old. So
I
yeah,
love those nights.
yeah, you get some long nights. You have kids?
9 and 12,
Mm.
2 daughters, and I've had a lot of those fun nights where they almost made it to the bathroom, or I almost got them out of my bed before. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the plight of being a dad, right?
yeah, yeah. No, I was kind of weird. Someone on my team was said afterwards. I told him what I was going through, and he was like, uh, talking about how he's like, "Well, that's why I'm not a dad," and to me, it was interesting because in some ways I was like, it's almost yeah, it's weird when you have kids, if you do it intentionally, kind of do it for yourself. You want to have them, and
Mhm.
then and once you have kids, it stops being about yourself. It's just like I got to take care of them, and then the weird thing that happens is when it becomes all about them and not you, it's
Mm.
actually really starts being the best thing possible for you. So
Right?
you have that sense of meaning, right? It's no longer what am I doing? What do I care about? You have so much more purpose when you're helping someone else. And so there was something where in the middle of the night where it was just hard and difficult, but I was helping my son through something bad where it was almost like the essence of like why parenthood is so great. It wasn't like why parenthood is bad and one of the negatives. It's like this is why it's awesome. it's,
Right?
so it's, yeah.
It's funny what
So
you can learn to love and appreciate,
yeah.
you know? It's one of those things where you're like, not long ago, I would not have felt this way about this.
Yeah.
We talked about female hormone changes, but for men, it's scent driven.
Scent
Uh,
driven.
yeah, your child actually gives off pheromones
Mm,
right after it's born, especially close to its head,
yeah.
to have it triggers the male brain to go, "This is mine,"
Mm,
right? To claim ownership.
yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know it was through pheromones, or maybe it's knowledge I had at one point and forgotten. And it makes so much sense. I have two young boys, and
Mm,
when they're small, I'd always just be like smelling them, and yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
weird 'cause, like, I always caught myself smelling my children, and even to this day, I still right, my daughters lean in, and I audit to hug me, and I automatically take a big breath right over the top of
yeah,
their head.
yeah,
Is that scent recognition that this is mine. Uh,
yeah.
I don't know, it's very
I
feral, but it's funny.
yeah. There's it's just so primitive smell. Of all the different parts of your brain, all your senses,
Mhm.
they will go through like a processing area, and then they have to go through your cortex and get higher level representation of like, what does that mean? What have I seen? Oh, that is a house over there. And what does a house mean to me, etc. And they have to do all that before they get to the emotional part of your brain, that in the
Mhm.
primitive part of your brain, like the limbic system and the amygdala. But smell, it's the one sense that doesn't. It has direct connections to the amygdala, the emotional part of your brain. So when you smell things, you could just feel a sense of place or feelings really intensely, but
Mhm.
you don't have any like higher representation of what it means.
Right.
So it makes you like present with, I think, your what's going on in ways that it's just not possible with other senses. So I've always really appreciated smell. Just suddenly smell someone, it's like childhood. Now you're just there, but you can't really explain it. It's just like 'cause it's just so primitive.
It's one of those things that when I'm talking to men about fatherhood, I'm talking about when I'm talking to them about, like, creating memories with your kids and stuff, that's one of the things I always it's like, "Hey, do something, the more senses you can involve, the more it embeds and becomes a deeper memory. But the minute you can involve smell, right?
Mm,
And that can be something like baking. I love cooking with my kids
mm,
because then you start to have this deep seated, almost inexplicable sense when you cook certain things, right?
mm.
I had this deep memory my grandmother has a very unique brownie recipe. My grandmother passed. The last thing I got to tell her was my wife was pregnant with twins.
Mm,
And I had this deeply embedded, like, it doesn't matter if I'm cooking brownies or if my mom is cooking brownies or something,
yeah,
because my mom lives with us. That smell starts cooking, and automatically I'm back at the foot of my grandmother's bed, right? That is a distinct, just base connection to memories of my grandmother.
yeah,
And so, yeah, it's just as weird. You get these weird taste is pretty high up there, I know, and I don't understand all the science and facts behind it, but I know the more senses you can involve, the more likely it is to be committed to memory.
yeah,
And the more you get those like smells involved, the more embedded it will become for later in life. It's the most powerful base connection
yeah.
to creating a memory.
Yeah. Well, taste is mostly olfactory driven. It's
Mhm.
mostly smell. So it's doing the same thing where you eat something, it goes right to that emotional part of the brain, and you don't have to think, why is it something important to you? It just is. So yeah, that's powerful.
It's funny. My mom and I were actually just talking about this night before last. Um, I grew up in the Midwest. Well, part of my life, I grew up in the Midwest. My dad was a preacher, and so we had like ice cream socials, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Which we have not had since I moved to the coast as a kid. Like that's not something churches up here seem to do.
Yeah.
But I still remember when I was like 5, 6 years old, we'd have these big outside picnics, ice cream socials after church on Sunday morning, and there'd be all these flavors of ice cream. But my mom, my grandmother always brought banana ice cream because that's what my grandfather ate. So that's what they
Mhm.
learned to make. And like to this day, Chunky Monkey from Ben and Jerry's is a
Nice.
straight way to my heart because it's the only like banana ice cream out there. But one bite and it's just instant childhood flood of emotions and
Yeah.
love and joy and there aren't many foods that are that, but I mean that one is so strong. And I
Yeah.
don't know why, because my grandmother and my mom cooked a lot of stuff growing up. They're big, they were Southern. My grandmother was a 14-year-old bride in Texas.
Oh wow.
Uh,
Yeah.
her
Different
husband was
era.
like World War II at 19. It's
Yeah.
and so I grew up with rich cooking in my house, but that particular one, I don't know what it is about it, just takes me right there. And it's
Yeah.
probably the strongest one out of them all.
Yeah. That's a good point, though. I I really value smell, but I don't uh, cultivate how to create some of those memories for my kids. And you're right. Yeah, like
Mhm.
cooking and bringing them in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
As
eh,
the boys get older, are they both boys?
both boys. Yep.
Yeah, as they get older, and I'm a big fan of men should learn how to cook, period, right?
Yeah.
We don't teach boys to cook. We don't even teach girls to cook anymore, but I'm a big fan of you should be able to cook, and so,
Yeah.
that's one of the things I do with my daughters regularly is we cook things together.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was not taught how to cook unless it was like a frozen pizza. But yeah, and I think I was cooking frozen pizzas for myself for dinner at like seventh grade. But yeah, no, I mean, and that is an issue when you look at mental health, right?
Mhm,
It's one of the bigger things you could do to improve your mental health is eat well. You eat bad, it has real negative consequences, and there's even research kind of showing that there's something potentially even deeper here around. There's a Dr. Palmer out of Harvard who's done a bunch of research indicating that potentially a lot of mental disorders from depression to schizophrenia, like a breadth of disorders that you wouldn't, across all of them, that underlying it is issues with mitochondria, like the energy producing part of our
mhm,
cells. And that these get unregulated in a major way by problems with diet. One of the best ways to make sure that they're producing energy in the correct way is through good diet. Um, and if you're not eating right, it makes you more prone to anxiety, depression, a whole bunch of different things.